Well, folks, we're on our way back from Iceland right now, so let's check in with the flight crew and see. Oh, what's that? I'm hearing. Oh, it's just Chinese domination, utterly, all the time. That's all we can expect. That's the breaking news. Royal Never Give Up are your mid-season invitational 2021 champions with a 3-2 victory over Damwon Kia. Certified banger of a series. I thought it was a great one. I have to be honest, I had to catch up on a few VODs because I had to get called into work last night kind of late. So I was up until about 4:30 a.m. and I was sitting there at my work computer looking at it like, I need to be awake in about 4 hours if I'm going to catch this finals series. And then I proceeded to sleep until about 11 o'clock my time and miss the first half of the series. But I've caught up. I watched the VODs when I could. And unfortunately for all of us, Noxwar and Curly were actually awake for the entire series. So guys, we'll go over the entire finals weekend, semis and finals. But just give me your first reaction to the final series between Damwon and RNG. Curly, like, what was this watching series what was watching the series like for you?
I mean, number one, it was a very mixed bag for me because there were some moments where I was like, yeah, RNG's got this. I'm going to be the only one right on the podcast. And then there were like those couple of games where Damwon was like, no, this is why we won Worlds last year. And I was like, ah, shit. I was like, no, I'm going to get so flamed for this. Not only do I, was I wrong about Mad, but I'd be wrong about RNG. But so it was very... It was very jarring for me, but when RNG was performing well, I was very reinforcing my belief that their competitiveness in their region really contributed to their ability to perform against the reigning world champions.
Yeah.
For me personally, I honestly, you and I, Sandy, were kind of talking about it last week on the previous show, and we were kind of like, oh man, we know we predicted Damwon to win this whole thing way back when the tournament was first starting. But watching these games and the fact that Damwon got 2-0'd by RNG in the Rumble stage, it was just like, oh, I think we got to change our prediction here, Feels bad, but if we want to be right, this is what we got to do. So honestly, watching the series today for me was kind of like, oh, okay, Damwon's still putting up a fight even though they got 2-0'd earlier on in the Rumble stage. So for what it was like, I woke up this morning, I was like, all right, here comes the 3-0. RNG's got their number. They may be some decent games, but I think it's gonna be a 3-0 at this point. And next thing I knew, it was game 2, the Xerath comes out from Showmaker and he's just sniping people left, right, and center with it. And then game 4 comes out, and then Ghost gets a freaking pentakill on Tristana, and you're like, oh, well, okay. And then Blue Side Difference comes in, and it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that pentakill come in, and I was like, oh, is this the turn? Is this where Damwon just absolutely turns it on and does what they did to Mad Lions in the semis, yesterday, and just absolutely, forest burn clears out the rest of the series and just sends RNG packing. And then turns out it was a bit more of an anticlimactic game 5 than I was hoping for. It feels like that was a bit of a trend, especially with the Mad Damwon series yesterday. It was super hype, and then all of a sudden Damwon was like, well, I guess we're not playing around anymore. I guess we got to take this seriously. And just absolutely locked down. There was some moment where there was a shot of Showmaker just kind of staring into the middle distance, and everyone was like, oh, that was the moment when Mad Lions knew that they had screwed up, and and that Showmaker was about to turn it on. And yeah, it was an interesting weekend to say the least. I mean, the big thing for me was I'm trying to go through and see if he did. I think Gala got Kaisa all 5 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did.
And I'm just like, how? Why? How do you give this man a champion that he is so good on 5 games in a row? He was we're not sponsored by them, the Oppo MVP of of the finals series. Sponsor us, Oppo. And on this Kaisa, 5 games in a row, I was just shocked that there was no draft adaptation
to counter it.
To counter it.
Like to ban it or to get it first?
Yeah, to ban it, to first pick it. Damwon, they went for the Tristana a couple times. Obviously, Ghost did really well. That pentakill was a thing of beauty.
Pentakill was awesome.
There's like moments, because I played Tristana, I mained her for a hot minute, and there's these moments where you see like all your opponents on 1 HP, and you're just kind of like, my mind's telling me no. And then you just jump in, and if it works, it works. And in this case, for Ghost, it did, and it was great. But I was really surprised to not see Damwon prioritize that Kaisa. Nox, I mean, how are you feeling about just giving Gala the Kaisa over and over and over?
So my thought process on it was basically like game 2 showed, hey, the Kaisa can be beaten, right? It's not unstoppable. Like, you can beat it. And then same thing for game 4, right? Like, the entire time it's just like, okay, well, we beat it in game 2, beat it game 4. It's like, well, we can just let it go one more time, basically. In which case, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, you had that crazy stupid play by Gala where he dived the backline and killed Ghost with it in, I think, game 3, right? That or game 1. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's scary, but at the same time, I mean, he, outside of that one play, like, he was playing well on it, but he wasn't, like, flashy or anything. I wasn't really seeing anything overly impressive. He was just solid, which, granted, don't get me wrong, is still grounds for possibly banning it from him. But what I really wanted to shift the attention to was the fact that Wei got Udyr 5 games in a row.
Oh, okay. Do you think that entails more than the Kaisa?
I definitely think it was more in Wei's powerhouse, and it definitely had a bigger influence on the games than Gala's Kaisa. So I would actually say, yeah, I think the Udyr had a bigger effect than the Kaisa did. As good as that Kaisa was, I think unfortunately what it is that Wei just has more map control with the Udyr on, and basically, I don't know, I feel like Damwon needed to do something to force him off the pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, I don't actually agree with you there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I just saw a lot more from the Kaisa. I don't think it was necessarily Udyr as much as Wei just being better than Canyon. Overall, like, Udyr into Morgana happened most of the series, and it was only switched up in the last game where they picked Rumble, if I remember correctly.
Nidalee was also game 4.
Nidalee was also picked, and Nidalee, so against the Morgana, I felt like it was pretty balanced because Udyr could power clear, but Morgana provided so much in terms of team fighting with being able to literally just lock down teams. And then Nidalee was a good pull, but like in the games where you saw Udyr losing, he just kind of felt not as useful, whereas even in the losing matchups, Kaisa could still have like one good play here or there. You know? And of course, I'm looking at the math here, which we love statistics on this show.
We do.
Big and Kaisa has a 56% win rate as opposed to Udyr's 52% win rate. So.
Yeah. Well, interesting series, and we can get back to it, but let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to Friday's match first. So RNG versus Paris Saint-Germain Talon Esports. This was a series that kind of went, I think, the way we all expected it to. I don't recall off the top of my head, I should have written this down, what our score predictions were, but 3-1 for me felt pretty much in line with what I expected. I expected PSG to put up a fight, to, make it at least interesting. But, clearly RNG, the better team. And I felt like in this series, the big difference for me was, Xiaohu looked so good in this series, in my opinion. And, yeah, Nox, I mean, how did you feel about Friday's matchup?
So Friday was the
RNG PSG.
RNG PSG. So that was the one I was looking forward to most, and I think honestly that's even though it was only a 3-1, for the record, I did predict that was going to be a 3-2 in favor of RNG, so I was off by a game. But
Yeah.
That was the game the series I was most excited for, right? The two games that they had in the Rumble stage were super explosive and back and forth and super contested the whole way through. And I would say, again, even though it was only a 4-game series, I think that all 4 games were super highly contested. Personally, for me, it was my favorite series to watch in playoffs. But I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased on that one. Who knows?
Curly, what were your thoughts on that series?
So this is one I didn't get to catch quite as much of, just because of I was busy on
Life.
Friday. But
life always.
Yeah, what I was able to see is they did put up Town did put up a good fight. They didn't go down lying. They didn't just say all right, bye. And especially the fact that they were able to get that one game off of RNG, I think is real good for them. But I think that's also a testament to what we've talked about, in that this is just kind of similar to how I mentioned how one of the reasons RNG is so good is because they come from a more competitive region. It's kind of shows here how Talon is just the MVP squad of the PCS, and so you can send the MVP squad of it, but they're not as competitive as the LPL, so they're still going to have a harder time, And I think that's just kind of what showed up this weekend with RNG winning both of their rounds.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the bright spot for me with PSG was ironically a player who's not even on PSG normally, Doggo. It makes you kind of wonder what the end result would have been if Unified had been able to attend. Really unfortunate that he could not. I don't think it would have been too much different. Ultimately, I don't think they would have beaten RNG. But it was really surprising to me what the bot lane synergy looked like between Doggo and Kaiwing. It actually looked really good for two guys who, maybe the most before this that they had played together was maybe matching up in solo queue or something like that.
Pretty much.
Clearly, they had played against each other, so they kind of knew the tendencies. But that doesn't really substitute, when you need to go into an actual series. So I want to give major props to PSG for dealing with their sub situation in a really, really sharp and well-defined way. They managed to take a tough situation and turn it into a semifinals appearance. Where they took a game off of the eventual winner and stay competitive in the other matches. So I think that's really, really good to see.
That makes me think of a tweet I saw after from, I don't remember what her name was, but she's part of the PCS broadcasting team.
Yep, yeah.
And she was like, you guys didn't see anything. Don't take our players, please. You saw nothing.
Yeah, I saw plenty of tweets joking about, all right, here comes the bidding war from LPL and LCS for Doggo. I was really, happy to see Maple. There's a guy who went to LPL for a couple years, did not have as much success as some of his other PCS counterparts like Karsa, and some other. I know there's another PCS guy who went over Sword Art. Obviously now on TSM. So I was glad to see him get back to his home region and really dominate and show up. I felt like Maple did really well this tournament. I just don't think it was enough. And so to kind of segue us to the next series, Dom1 versus Mad, I do feel like the way PSG played versus RNG and the way Mad played versus Dom1 does show and kind of define more, cementedly for sure that EU is the number 3 region, above, PCS and NA. And obviously the NA versus PCS debate is, bit of a hot one. Say the way Mad played throughout this tournament, in my mind, kind of puts Europe up there as the number 3 region right now. Nox, how do you feel in response to that statement?
say pretty much everything you stated there is spot on, and I just, yeah, you nailed it. I don't really see a world where anyone can make an argument saying that Europe belongs at number 4. Like,
Okay.
sorry, PCS. Don't get me wrong, PSG Talons were amazing and fantastic, but for the time being, like, I'm still over here honestly debating whether the PCS region should be considered number 5 still, or they actually have earned that number 4 spot. I'm personally of the opinion that as a region, they're still number 5 because the rest of their competition is still super weak, even though your best team is undoubtedly better than our best teams.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree. I think if you did some kind of weird Rift Rivals-esque tournament between NA and the PCS, NA would absolutely dominate. You know, the PCS is basically PSG is the best team, and then there's everyone. It's, you know, a giga gap in between, and then it's everyone else. So, you know, and I think we'll see that when it comes to Worlds, and I think we've seen that historically, that like the top LMS or PCS team does pretty decently, and then the other ones that show up, they kind of get blown out of the water. But moving on to Mad versus Damwon, yesterday's series. Now this one was exciting, and you know, I felt really bad for all our EU friends and EU counterparts. You know, so close yet so far at the same time, all over again. Felt like watching, you know, a few other, you know, European versus Korean best of 5s like I've seen before. Shades of Misfits versus SKT back in the day. Anyone? That one.
A little bit.
A little bit. That's what I was
thinking. Fnatic versus what was it? TES last year?
Yeah, Top Esports. Yeah, somehow Europe versus either China or Korea. They always get there, and then they just cannot close it out. But this series, that one was really good. I felt like there was a significant bot gap, in my opinion. Carzzy and Kaiser looked miles better than Ghost and Beryl, and you know, the whole Ghost Beryl situation is something that I think extended into today's series. But Curly, you are our resident LEC guy. What were your thoughts on how Mad performed versus Damwon?
I think overall they performed still as expected. I think some things that might have led to the loss is just a difference in skill level between particularly Canyon and Elyoya and Showmaker and Humanoid, because Armut is a very strong player, and particularly when he locked in Nar in Game 5, I thought this is it, this is our shot, because Narmut is known to be a very powerful force. But
I just realized you said Narmut.
Yeah, Narmut. Yeah, it's a great one. But so it's really just, it was very close throughout yesterday, and I think it was just a series of unfortunate events in the last game that led to us slipping kind of in a similar fashion to how C9 just didn't, not entirely like it, but how C9 just kind of didn't show up for their game against Mad Lions the first time round. Like, where it's just like they weren't able to get any traction, and it just slowly went from there. And it makes me a little sad, but I'm still very proud of Mad Lions. I personally, and this might sound crazy, I think they performed better than G2 would have, because they had something to prove. You know, whereas G2 would have walked in there with a chip on their shoulders. It's like, yeah, we're the best of the best. We're Caps and Reckless and, you know, Wonder, like all that. And granted, sometimes, yeah, that's what you need to do. If you're going to perform, you got to say, I'm the best one around. But when you've got something to prove, you put a little bit more heart into it, like I think Mad Lions did. And so I'm very proud of them, and I think they're kind of a beacon for the West. Like, I know that narrative's been spun by the LEC casters themselves as well, but that we have these shots at international stages, and if we can keep up like this growing power of the region, and hopefully, you know, give some to the LCS too, we'd really appreciate it. Like that, we can end the cycle of, say, LPL, LCK always winning titles. Bring a title back over to the West. We won the first one, and we've just either been there or not for ever since.
It's been almost a decade since. Yeah, and it's interesting because I think, when I was seeing a lot of the discussion pre-MSI about Mad Lions, people were saying like, oh, they're not G2. And like, I think you kind of have to redirect the conversation a little bit because G2 didn't even make it to the finals. Rogue was the team that Mad Lions beat to get here. So you kind of have to say like, oh, well, would Rogue have done any better? Would Rogue have done worse? And I think it's a really tough decision to say. Honestly, I feel like they probably would have done about similar. I think based on what we saw, how things played out, the way Cloud9 was playing, I think whatever European team you send, be it Mad Lions, Rogue, even G2, they would have made it to semifinals. In terms of how they then performed against Damwon, I feel like Mad really, really showed up. And, I think this is a good lesson for, fans out there to say that, when you get some new blood representing your region, like, let's say Dignitas goes on a massive tear again, right? For in NA this summer. Just because it's Dignitas and they don't have a history of being good, don't write them off immediately. Don't, don't put your expectations of them so low. If a team is at an international event, it's because they earned the right to be at the international event. So don't put them down, believe in them, support them. And, as we saw, Mad was very competitive. There's a very real chance, this is going to sound like a bit of flame, there's a very real chance that they could have been the ones getting beaten by RNG today instead of Damwon.
Which I still agree that even if they won, RNG is just better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think RNG was hands down the best team at this tournament. But there was a very real chance that they could have taken down Damwon. Nox, I want to hear from you kind of like on what we've all been talking about here. Thoughts on that series, Mad representing EU, what the future looks like for EU there. Give me your takes here.
I mean, for the future, I really think that Mad Lions is looking good, right? You have to consider that from last year, I mean, this is a team of a TCL import, right, who granted has 2 TCL championships, a brand new rookie jungler who's just been basically in the regional leagues for the past couple of years, who just come out on stage and absolutely dominated the LEC as like one of the best junglers, if not the best jungler. And then you've got 3 guys who were on the Mad Lions squad from last year at Worlds that dropped out in play-ins, and it was like a huge, huge, huge disappointment for Europe, right? So I think, honestly, the turnaround for these guys has been awesome. Series-wise, I mean, obviously, I still predicted Damwon to win the series, but if I'm being completely honest, I was sweating my butt off because for those of you who were listening last week, I had a little bet with Curly here on who would be winning. In which case, I predicted that Damwon would be winning, and then Curly was very confident in his boys Mad Lions winning. I mean, at the end of the day, granted, like I did win that bet, but like straight up, Curly, I was like watching that series, was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to owe him a poppy skin. My butt was clenched. So for what it's worth,
I'm nearing the completion of my collection. Your help would have been greatly appreciated.
So, but no, honestly, I was very, very happy with the Mad Lions series. I thought they looked good. I think they're going to come into summer LEC, and I think they're going to continue to look very, very good. I do, however, think G2 is not someone to take lightly. I would not be surprised to see if G2 still wins it all, because I think that team is damn good, and I think they have the star players in every single role. I think more than anything, that will probably be the finals of next summer. It'll be G2 versus Mad Lions. But I think we'll see. I think we'll see them in Worlds, and I think they're going to make a name for themselves, because I think they're only going to continue to get better. Especially like if you watch that series, Carzzy and Kaiser were just absolutely wrecking the bot lane of Ghost and Barrel, right? And so, whereas you go back to the LEC playoffs, Kaiser and Carzzy were like getting absolutely crapped on by Hansama and is it Tibble?
Trimby.
Oh, Trimby.
Hansama
and
Trimby.
Yeah, Hansama and Trimby were absolutely just destroying him in lane, right? And like, there was a whole Twitter conversation of Carzy and Perks was like, "You got bot gap 5 games in a row. Don't talk to me," or whatever. Like, I think now it's like Carzy can go talk to Perks and be like, "You got mid gapped all tournament long. Don't talk to me." So, more than anything, I think Mad Lions should be super proud. They've cemented themselves as the third best region, which we kind of all predicted coming in would be the case, right? But
Yeah.
I think more than anything, that is a proud finish for this team. They brought Damwon to 5 games, and I think come Worlds, they're going to be a monster force to be reckoned with. And I truly, truly believe that.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, as you did say, we made a bet. And so, I owe you a Space Groove Lulu skin. So for
let's go.
For those of you that are going to be listening, what I'm doing on screen right now is I have the client right here.
Oh, there it is.
I'm logged in. So we're going to the store. And yeah, so I told you specifically that I would be getting
he's
Space
doing this
Groove
live
Lulu.
on stream, folks. He's going into the client.
I'm doing this. So let's see. Nox War. There he is. Let's see. Where is that good old skin? Unlock a skin for a friend.
There we go.
And let's look at Lulu. Space Groove Lulu.
Lovely.
What's funny now, though, is people are going to realize Lulu's my favorite champion, and they're going to really hate me now because most people hate Lulu.
Do they really? I don't mind Lulu that much.
People find her extremely annoying to play against, which, you know, it is true. She is very annoying to play against, but I guess the playstyle that I play her as is not usually, like, shut down and deny people of their playstyles. I am more of the sense of, like, let me build Ardent Sensor, let me build Locket, let me make sure you just never die. Which I guess it can also be very annoying, but, like, I like building up my carries. Like, that's why I play support. I want you to do good.
Can you confirm you have received?
I can. Let's see where it is. There it is.
There it is.
Space Groove Lulu for Nox War.
Lulu for Nox War.
Congratulations, you win. Hashtag showcase greatness.
Showcase greatness, baby.
Appreciate it, Curly. Thank you for the bet. Let me know when you want to do another one.
So now that you were right yesterday, it's time for me to show that I was right again. And is there anything else we want to talk about in today's series, Sandy?
For Damwon versus RNG, let me think. So, this series, for me, was bot gap. Beryl, once again, showed up horribly. It was rough. So many early game 2v2 bot kills. Gala just absolutely stomping lane. And I don't really think it was... I don't want to blame Ghost, really, because Ghost did okay. But it was clear to me that RNG focused themselves on getting their bot lane ahead. Wei came down on the Udyr multiple times, ganked early, ganked often, and got Gala ahead. And, they really relied on him and that Kaisa to win in the mid to late game. And, unfortunately, I think that Game 5 was a bit anticlimactic. I would have liked to have seen Damwon put a little bit more, effort into that final game. Not that they didn't put effort, but like a little bit more of a fight. It felt like they just kind of started rolling over and let RNG do what they wanted. But yeah, felt like this series was a big bot gap. I felt like Showmaker, he can only carry that team so far before it just becomes too heavy. Get that man a chiropractor.
Honestly, speaking of Showmaker, actually, so
yeah,
I wanted to talk about Showmaker a little bit more.
Sure.
And I mentioned to you guys earlier that there was a player I wanted to talk about, and this is the player, because as I was watching today, specifically during the opening video, I got this idea in my head, is like, do you think that there is the chance that when the reign of Faker officially comes to a close, like, that Showmaker could fill those shoes? That Showmaker is the next Faker of Korea and of League of Legends?
I would argue he already is. And I know that's a bit of a controversial take, probably. I think Faker's still very good, but Showmaker uh, is winning. And, obviously, like, winning isn't everything, but Damwon Kia is winning, and I would argue the big reason why they keep doing so well is mainly because of Showmaker. And, back in the day, I think a lot of people would say the big reason SKT did so well was because of Faker. Mid is probably one of the most important positions on a League of Legends team. A lot of the game revolves around mid lane, oftentimes. Especially in NA, we love our ARAMs, right? Our NARAM, baby.
NARAM.
NARAM. So yeah, I would say Showmaker is on his way, if not, close to already there in terms of taking over kind of that Korean mid laner legacy from Faker. I think Faker's still very good. Don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of Faker fans out there who are probably very angry and are writing me very angry DMs right now if they see this. So hopefully none of them do. But
no, I welcome the flame. Bring it on.
Well, you welcome the flame for me. That's the.
Hey, if people are flaming me, that means they care enough to give me their opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. Good point.
That's what you get for being our social media manager, Sandy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You got to handle the flame.
I got to handle the flame.
Nox, how do you feel about this? What's your take?
Personally, I don't see Showmaker as reaching the same level as Faker. And let me explain why, okay? Don't get me wrong, I think currently he is the #1 mid, like, in the world right now. Over anyone in the LPL, even over Rookie, or even over Faker right now, I think he is the #1 name in mid lane and in Korea. However, let's go look back at Faker's legacy, right? This man was just so dominant throughout his career, starting all the way back in Season 3. Had so many championships in OGN/LCK. He's had 3 world championships. He's had an MSI title. Just the amount of accomplishments this man has had is absolutely insane. Now, if Showmaker wants to achieve that, he's on the road for it, don't get me wrong. But I think he's going to need a little help. And to be fair, Faker had a little help too. And I'm sure some people will recognize this, but the right hand of God, who am I referring to here?
Shoot. It starts with a B. Is it Bangi? Are you talking about Bangi?
Bangi.
Yeah.
Bangi is the right hand of God.
I'm so glad I knew that. I think I would have to, resign from the podcast.
But Faker had Bangi for the longest time, right? And don't get me wrong, Faker had some championships after Bangi was gone, right? Yeah. But, his career truly started, and his history and his legacy started with Bangi. And so I think if Showmaker is going to want to have to achieve that, he's going to have to look towards Canyon to help him achieve that goal. And if I'm being completely honest, granted, some of it may be the drafting, at this particular tournament, but Canyon did not impress me that much this tournament. He getting put on the Rumble, and granted, I think a lot of people can agree that the Rumble as a jungler was just not that good this tournament, but there was never any really true standout moments for me for Canyon, at least against competition that was equal or above his level, right? Mm-hmm. So what I need to see for Showmaker to achieve the greatness that is Faker, they need to continue to be dominant in Korea, which they're doing right now. But it's also unfortunate because Korea as a whole, I feel, has decreased in standing in terms of quality of gameplay. So they need to continue being dominant in Korea. They need to achieve more international victories, and Canyon has to show that he's willing to be the right hand of the next god that is Showmaker.
Awesome.
No,
the reason I asked that is because I'm in a similar, I'm a little more towards Sandy's side of things, where I think he might already be there, but then I also see your point, Nox, where he's not quite there yet, especially because Faker is still playing, and he's still playing well. He's not talked about as much as he used to. That might not necessarily be his fault. It could be from just the decreasing performance of T1 over the recent years. But in my brain, my perception, especially when I was watching the opening video today, and the way I see Showmaker on stage and his personality and his skill when he does really well, is that I could easily see him being the face of Korea in League of Legends because he has a personality for it, and if his performance matches that, he could. I don't know what title we'd give him, because I feel like Demon King is always going to belong to Faker. You cannot.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Like, you cannot just pass that title on. But in terms of meaning, he could be the next quote unquote Demon King, whatever title they give him. And so as much as I like to see new competition and like people being able to take on Korea, I would also be that's a cool narrative to have, of one player who is just so impressive and so charismatic and like just dominating that everyone looks to them.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely. And I think the big problem for T1 recently has just been their inability to settle on a lineup. I mean, they're practically playing with like, if you go on Gamepedia right now and look at their current roster, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people on it, right? 3 of which are junglers. They just cannot settle. They could not settle on a roster in spring. They just rotated it around. It felt like they had no synergy, and I think that's kind of like the struggle for Faker right now, is he's not playing with consistent teammates. In fact, I think Closer was the Korean mid laner, not the Turkish 100 Thieves jungler. Let's just clarify there. Closer played a bunch of games for T1 this spring. And meanwhile, Faker has shown consistently that he's still got it. He has not, dropped off in, performance or in quality. So we'll see how that goes. I'm interested to watch, Korea, to see how, especially to see how Damwon responds this upcoming summer split, to see who Korea's representatives are going to be at Worlds. I think you've got, Genji is obviously very competitive as well. You've got DRX. I've got a little bit of a soft spot for KT Rolster.
You poor bastard.
Look, I said,
are you a KT fan?
I said soft spot. I actually don't. I don't have a Korean team. If I had to pick, like, there's like 3 Korean teams that I'm like at least interested in at the most. It's KT, Genji, and DRX. Those 3 teams I like, just for various weird reasons. I like DRX a lot because they've got a lot of rookies on that team, and I think that's always fun. So. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how LCK looks at the end, or at the throughout this summer season.
I was gonna ask, are we done with LCK stuff, or?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
So I was just gonna throw it back to MSI, but like just to wrap up the discussion.
We have sidetracked a bit. I'm sorry about that.
No. Honestly, I think it was a great discussion.
Tangents are good. We love a good tangent,
However, though, just to really cement the MSI topic and just to wrap it up, but what was your guys' opinions of this tournament as a whole? Is it one of the better MSIs that we've had, or is it one of the worst MSIs that we've had? What do you guys got? Curly, go for it.
I personally enjoyed it for the most part. And I think, like, one thing that might make some people view it as less is something that was out of a lot of people's controls, is that it was missing the organic factor of the audience. And I think, personally, if we had this format and some of the games that we were able to see with an audience there to add some emotion that you just can't get from casting alone, it would have been blown out of the water. Like, when PGG made it out of their group, imagine how awesome the crowd would have reacted to that, It's just so... I think I'm very satisfied with it. I wouldn't say it was exceptional, I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I think it was good. It was what I wanted to see from an MSI, especially because MSI is just kind of a check-in of like, all right, who's doing the best right now, and what does that region have to offer, and what do we need to look forward to 5 months from now when we're ready to take them on again for the end of the season. I think it did a great job at that. Also, I just love the aesthetic, and Iceland is beautiful.
Heck yeah. Sandy, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'll 100% agree on the aesthetic. I thought the visuals and the graphics were really good. I need to give a special shout out to the little pre-match like video content that they did with the guys in the bar, and then also just kind of like on the volcanic rocks. That was fantastic, absolutely hilarious. I loved like kind of having the players do a little bit of trash talking, obviously kind of scripted and whatnot, but I thought that was some really cool content that they did. In terms of MSI as overall, I wasn't disappointed by this MSI, but I wasn't. At the same time, it's not like the best MSI we've ever had, in my opinion. I think there's a few things that are negatives. I think the big one is obviously that the VCS, that Gigabyte Marines, could not attend. I don't... Man, this is going to be tough to say, but I do feel like it degraded the quality of the tournament slightly to not have them there. I really don't want to, talk trash about Pentanet, but that is not like a team that should be in that 6-team second stage. It was, for the most part, except for the one freaking win against Cloud9, free wins for every other team. You put Gigabyte Marines in that group, and all of a sudden that entire group changes, the standings get shaken up. Who knows? Maybe Gigabyte Marines gets out. No idea. But I felt like that kind of degraded the quality, honestly, in the same way that like it was degraded by not having VCS at Worlds. I really hope that Vietnam can make it to Worlds this fall, but now we've got this trend of twice in a row, and I'm hopeful that it's not a third time. And then otherwise, it felt like things went according to expectations. So, I don't want to say that made it worse, but it's always more fun when there's like some wild, crazy stuff happening, So, it basically went, okay, RNG versus Dom 1 final, as everyone expected. Maybe the biggest surprise was like Cloud9 performing in the way that they did. But you can't really say like, oh, that made the tournament worse, because that's just a tournament. So for me, overall, here's the TLDR. It was a good tournament. Wasn't my favorite. Went according to expectations. And I'm looking forward to LCS Summer and all the other, regular seasons for all the other leagues. I'm ready for... I'm ready to just be overwhelmed by the amount of VODs that I have to watch and keep up on. Yeah, how about you, Knox? I mean, what were your overall thoughts on this? Oh, one more thing I want to say. I did see a tweet from while I was working late last night. There was a little bit of a Twitter interaction between LS and Travis Gafford, and LS was talking about how like any content he had put out for MSI, like the views were way down, and Travis responded that it was similar for him. He looked at the number and then he was like, yeah, it looks like the dive and this or that are also down. And maybe there was like a bit of a content deluge, like almost too much content revolving around MSI, and that might be true. So I'm wondering if people were slightly less hyped for this for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why that would be. But yeah, I don't feel like this was the most like crowd participatory MSI that we've ever had. So.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know what that says exactly, but something to kind of look back on maybe at some point, and
Yeah.
who knows, maybe it'll be relevant at some point or another. To get back to the original question, though, that you were asking me, Sandy, honestly, I don't even remember at this point.
Oh,
my brain just farted.
Well, I mean, I was just asking you.
It was
the same
pointing back
question
to
you asked us.
It was you.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, answer your own question.
My brain just had a massive fart there. I'm sorry, guys. Let me open a window up.
It's okay. We all woke up early. You know, we probably all would have been sleeping in today. It's fine.
But to answer my own question, I guess, let me put it that way, I pretty much agree with you guys. This tournament, while solid, was not the best, and it certainly wasn't the worst. Cough, cough, MSI 2020. Get it? Because there was no MSI.
There was none.
Yeah, okay.
There was
you
no.
know, I can't even remember that one. It was so bad.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
I blocked it out of my memory. It's yeah.
But overall, I think big takeaways this tournament for me were that every single Tier 4 team, at least according to Riot, although I happen to agree with their standings on it, beat every single Tier 3 team. So Detonation Focus Me outperformed Infinity Esports, was a Tier 3 team. Pain Gaming outperformed the Wildcats, which was a Tier 3 team. And then Australia, Pentanet beat Unicorns of Love, which was a Tier 3 team. So I think those were really, really awesome takeaways. And then, honestly, I mean, Cloud9's always something to talk about, which we'll be discussing forever and ever, I bet. And then outside of that, yeah, no, everything went basically to expectations. Really, the most exciting stuff was the upsets of the Tier 3 over the Tier 4, or the Tier 4 over the Tier 3, rather. That was like my big thing.
I remember for a second that I thought that DFM was potentially going to make it out of the group.
Yeah, I mean that was probably one of the more exciting things about this MSI was seeing DFM actually play up to the potential that people have felt that they've had for a really long time. So that was really cool. Put
a nail in the coffin of MSI.
Yeah, and maybe just turn to Cloud9 for a bit. Now I'm sure they're already home. They've been home for probably a week now or so. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about how Cloud9 will do. Maybe a little bit. We'll get into our bigger LCS preview episode next week. But I'm curious to see how you guys feel like Cloud9 did overall, what we should expect from them in summer. I, for one, think that, they should, at this point, probably be making Worlds, just based off of where they are in the overall standings, things like that. They should be expected to get to that point.
And before a summer 2020 return?
Yeah, basically. A redux of the big collapse. But yeah, I mean C9, just like some overall impressions. Like what are the takeaways for NA at an international tournament once again?
Curly, you want to go first or me?
You know what? I can take the reins. Yeah, let's do this.
Go for it.
I think it's so. The takeaways for C9 after MSI are very different if you look at what to expect from them for the summer and what to expect for NA for international competition. So I'm going to answer both of those. When we look at C9 at MSI, a big thing we suffered from was inconsistency. They showed they have the power and the ability to win and compete with these known to be better teams, but they weren't able to be consistent enough in that ability, and that was where they were lacking. Specifically, we look at the day where they took a game off of RNG and then gave one to Pentanet. So what I would want to see from them, and I think we covered this a little bit more last week when we talked about them leaving, is and really any NA team that we send to Worlds this year, is we've got to make sure we're consistent in our skill level, because I think it's there. And so when we put C9 at Worlds, because I think they've got a high chance of making it as one of our Worlds representatives, plus, do we get 2 slots, 3 slots? How many slots do we get?
3.
We get 3 slots.
We get 3.
So C9 plus the other 2, whoever they may be, hopefully FlyQuest, of course. we all have to show up and make sure we are consistently performing at our best, and not slipping up. Now, C9 in terms of the LCS this summer, there's so much they were able to learn here. Anyone that goes, like, one of the biggest perks of being able to represent your region at MSI is that you are the only team that gets that actual experience against other regions, and you can bring that back. It gives you like a good advantage. The only thing you're losing out on is you get less time to just straight practice for LCS because you are practicing for MSI. But if you use that well, there's probable chance that C9 will stay on top, and rather than picking up the gears like they had to at the beginning of this split, they're probably going to hit the ground running, in my opinion. So they're probably just, as much as I don't want to say it, they're going to be dominating. As long as they've recollected themselves from the emotions that they probably felt in their defeat, they're going to be dominating, and they're going to stay number one. And of course, only going to lose to FlyQuest.
Absolutely.
No, that's a script. I like it. Let's send it.
Send it, baby.
Nox, I guess it's your turn now.
Yeah, no, I think, let's see. Cloud9's probably going to come in, and obviously, international competition is always huge for our teams, right? So they're going to come in, they're going to have all these expectations, and it's going to be weird for them because it's like they're not going to get pushed. And so you guys remember my analogy from last episode, basically, about these teams, like if you take your foot off the gas pedal even a little bit, like they'll snatch the momentum and they'll send it flying the other direction in their favor, right? I think Cloud9 may come back and they're just going to be like, all right, let's see what happens. And they're going to take their foot off the gas pedal to see if they get pushed. And it's just like, nope, the car's still in neutral going this way. Nothing to worry about. And they're not going to get the resistance that they need. And it's not going to get them the training that they want.
Right.
So what I'm truly, truly hoping happens is basically Cloud9 comes in and they just wreck house. Like, I truly actually hope that. And I say this as someone who's not even a Cloud9 fan. I don't really care for the team and never really have. I hope they come in, and I really do hope they wreck house, because I hope it teaches NA teams a lesson on how to actually play the damn game. If that happens, it's going to raise the level of our teams, and it's going to make us a better region, and eventually, hopefully down the line, it's just going to make Cloud9 a better team. So when Worlds comes up, now we can actually maybe put up a fight because we understand, hey, how do we act under pressure? And instead of just like, well, here's what the formula chart says that we should do.
Yeah. So basically, I hate this team, but I want them to absolutely destroy the season.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, hate's a strong word, but like,
yeah, no, I know.
Yes, totally.
That is exactly how I feel, Nox, because I don't really support C9.
I'm just trying to get that.
Aside from the fact that they represented us.
I'm just trying to get that clickbait clip for us.
Nox hates C9. What's next?
So Noxwar, you hate Cloud9, all their fans, and you have a particular vendetta against Jack, but you want them to win the LCS summer season. Tell me more. All right, clip it and ship it.
Hold on. In similar fashion to how we want C9 to only lose to FlyQuest, the only good C9 fan is Road Roller.
True, it's true.
Oh, but that's enough flame for one podcast.
Do you have anything to add to that, though, Sandy? Or?
It's Sandy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they were to come back and fall off, obviously it'd be a huge disappointment. Hopefully, there's no MSI. Hangover. Hopefully there's no extended jet lag from Iceland or anything like that. We should expect them to come back and be dominant, and we'll get into that next week with our LCS preview episode. Speaking of which, next week we will be recording our big LCS summer preview episode. We are going to be doing it a little bit later than usual, owing to a couple people's schedules and whatnot. That'll be live at 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the channel, twitch.tv/FlightCheck crew. And we'll just be going over every single aspect of LCS summer. We'll do our particular focus on FlyQuest for sure and see, what our expectations should be for them. But we'll go around the league, get a checkup on where everyone is. If there are any further roster announcements, I would assume that they would come out this week.
This week, oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything further to break other than 100 Thieves. I don't think, and Golden Guardians made some changes as well. But I think those two are the only teams that have changed anything. We'll see if FlyQuest makes any announcements regarding the support role.
I was going to say, officially, we have not heard an announcement yet.
Right,
but,
we've not heard anything.
Rumors behind the scene are it's going to be Dreams. But we'll discuss that next week.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm not exactly sure when roster locks are. But I'll be keeping a close eye on the global contract database this week to see if anything comes through. And I think that's pretty much it. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to chat about before we wrap up?
Yeah, actually, so I've also heard from rumors that we're going to be putting licorice in the bot lane.
Oh my.
Kidding.
Yeah, is this much like the fabled Whippo in the jungle?
I just want to stir the pot in the way that LEC Wooloo has. Like that, because the wild thing about all that to me is that there's no one's saying no, this definitely isn't happening, and no one's saying yes. There's so much gray area with that. And that makes me wonder, like, what aren't we seeing in the LCS sets like that? Maybe there are moves being made.
Yeah,
so
who knows?
I guess really what I want to say then is I'm excited for what we're going to be able to talk about next week. Maybe there are developments and announcements with FlyQuest. I know soon we're going to be finding out our summer philanthropy.
Yep.
So that's going to be a fun one to talk about. So very excited for that. If we have a summer split jersey, which we probably will. Can't wait to see how else Fiend plans on attacking my wallet.
Yep, for sure.
Those are just a few of the things I'm looking forward to in our hype episode next week, and then definitely going to be doing a lot of homework this week on how FlyQuest players have been performing in solo queue and anything else. So that's what that's really where I'm at.
Jose Diodo, rank 3 right now.
Yep. Still currently ranked 3. Although interesting enough, Jojo Pune, who's the Academy mid laner for Evil Geniuses, is now ranked 1 in North America and has dethroned Tactical.
Oh.
Yeah, he's looking sharp. Jizuke better watch out for his spot. That's all I'm saying about that.
Unfortunately, Jojo's still 16, so he can't take his spot yet.
Well, you can play when you're 17, right? Is that the case?
Yeah, he does not turn 17 until after Summer Split, though.
Well, 2022, Evil Genius's new mid laner.
Legitimately, though, actually possible.
Would not be surprised. Nox, anything you want to touch on before we wrap up here?
I'm going to need y'all's homework sent to me over the course of this week, as I will be in Cancun drinking tequila shots and having a great time. So follow my Twitter if you want to see
drink
what
responsibly.
looks like. Yes, please drink responsibly.
Yeah, please drink responsibly. Be smart and safe about what you're doing. Well, that's
Wait a second. We've got a new meta opportunity. Forget hot tub streams. We're gonna call Nox in beach stream,
baby. All right. Beach stream sounds fantastic. Well, that is about it for us. You can follow us on the various social media sites at FlightCheck Crew on Twitter. You can also give us a nice little follow right here on Twitch. We're only a few followers away from 50,
6.
And it's one more checklist box off on our road to getting affiliate and maybe getting paid for doing some of this stuff. Wouldn't that be fun? You can follow me at SantosDB on Twitter, Noxwar at NOXWARR, and CurlyQQ. You can follow him at Curly_QQ_ as well. I remembered it this time. I didn't have to look it up real fast. Definitely.
Nailed it.
I nailed it. Nailed it, guys. We are on all the various podcast platforms. We record this live mostly Monday nights. Today was a little bit of a special thing. We will not be doing a show tomorrow. We will be back May 31st. That's Memorial Day. So come spend your late Memorial night with us talking about LCS and talking about all the excitement that's to come in the summer. But for now...
I will say one last thing. Sorry, one last thing. If y'all are a fan of LCS Pick'ems, keep an eye out for the FlightQuest Twitter account May 31st.
Oh baby, a
little bit of a tease.
Oh, a little bit of a tease.
Yes.
Okay. All right, LCS Pick'ems. Maybe they're coming back.
LCS Pick'ems. Let's go, baby.
Let's do it. What a huge move that would be, wouldn't it? If that were only to happen. Well, that's about it from us. Thank you for tuning in. As always, stay safe out there. Please get your vaccine shot when you can. And
you can go to Cancun when you do.
You can go to Cancun when you do. You could go to Utah like I did a few weeks ago. You can walk around.
Go to Columbus like I did on Friday.
Hey, there you go. You can do all kinds of things when you've got your vaccine card. Nice. I'm Santos DB. Sandy Toes, that's me. Thank you all for watching, and we will catch you all next time.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace.